Hello, my lovely people, and welcome to Owen's Mind, a light-hearted trip through the contents of my head and the world in general. It is Wednesday, the 29th of January. My name is Owen. Here is what is on my mind today. So today we have a special guest. We are joined by this truly enormous spot. I do apologise, I know it's distracting. You know, with them kind of spots that's like, you know, sometimes you go to sleep, you wake up, spot, next day, gone. You know, this is not that. This is one of those, you know, that it's like, and you can feel like a lump, and it's like, will this ever kind of, you know, is this just going to stay here forever? No, it was there for days and days and days, and it finally kind of crowned yesterday, and I was, to want of a better word, drained it of its life, and yeah, but I'm now stuck with his red marks. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Anyway, it's Wednesday. This video is going to go up really late because it's been a heck of a day at work today, but I don't like to talk about work really on this channel. That's not what I'm here to do. So rest assured, it's fine. Everything's okay. I hope your working day has been brilliant and you've had a good day and you're having a good week so far. Hump Day Wednesday, we are over. We are past. It is now quicker to the weekend than it was the start of the week if you work Monday to Friday, as I do. So anyway, as always, I have picked out 5 stories making the headlines today I wanted to give my thoughts on. Links will be in the description below so you can read each article in full and show those original publications some love. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Story number 1. And story number 1 today comes to us from BuzzFeed News. This is horrific. A YouTuber admitted to faking his girlfriend's death to promote their joint channel. Yeah, so this popular and controversial YouTuber based in Toronto has admitted lying about his girlfriend dying in a car accident in a video he posted last week. Jason Ethia, better known as ImJStation on YouTube, to more than 5.4 million subscribers, published a lengthy video on Sunday admitting that the entire thing was a ruse to gain more subscribers. In it, he admitted his girlfriend, Alexa Morano, is very much alive and claimed that she's now trying to ruin his life. He alleged that she had filed papers to the police claiming she'd been assaulted by him and that the police had issued a warrant. But when reached, the Toronto Police Service told BuzzFeed News no arrest warrant was on file, so it's unclear if the report was even filed at all. So the drama apparently began last Tuesday when the YouTuber announced in a now deleted monetized video that Morano had died of being hit by a drunk driver. He appears upset, he wipes away tears. He recruited a friend to film a fake memorial site at the side of the road. There's pictures of this in the article. That's truly insidious and horrible. He also mentioned her plans for their joint channel, The Dream Team. Her dream was to get 1 million subscribers, and we were so close, you guys, he said in the video. According to YouTuber comment channels and their screenshots, the initial fake video had racked up at least 800,000 views. The video caused immediate suspicion within the YouTube community. User Some Ordinary Gamers made a video where he recorded a phone call in which a Toronto police officer says the department has no record of death for anyone named Alexia Morano. Then later in the week, Ethia deleted the video and subsequent stunts, where one one where he summons Morano using a Ouija board, all of which were monetized and published. He said, I thought the idea of faking Alexia's death and then doing a thing on YouTube, thanking everyone, explaining to everyone it was just, you know, to gain traction. It goes on there's a little bit more, but you can imagine people's reaction has just been, what were you thinking? If you've got 5.8 million subscribers, I can only dream. At the minute, I could dream of 5 subscribers. I've got 4, and 2 of them are family members. Everyone's got to start somewhere. But if you have people who are completely into you and love you and, you know, and watch you every day, if you put something like that up, there could be people who really get hurt by that. And again, you kind of the fake roadside memorial and this kind of stuff, which like, that's really, I know there's this kind of, you know, some YouTubers and this, I don't know this gentleman's channel, I don't know him, you know, I don't know if he kind of thrives on shock value and that kind of thing. I know a lot of YouTubers do. They do stunts, and some people do funny stunts, and some people do stunts that kind of take it a bit too far, and some people do stunts which are just, you know, shouldn't happen. So just really, if you have got 5.8 million subscribers, you're doing okay. You don't need something like this to grow a channel. You really don't. You know, and faking somebody's death and those roadside memorials, a number of years ago in the UK, it was kind of a memo got leaked to the press, and it was about ideas that British police have or for kind of accident prevention on what we call accident black spots. So where a lot of accidents occur on a particular bend in the road or a particular stretch, you know, we call them accident black spots because they have multiple fatalities a year. And it was like, how do we tackle this? You know, we can't always just redesign the road. That's not always the issue. The idea is the road is fine, but because it's quiet, people tend to get the foot down, and you know, bad things happen. And this was never, never, never put into practice. But one of the ideas was, what if we put kind of flowers and memorial stuff, you know, and like, you know, at the side of the road, to give people the impression that somebody had lost their life here, and it was just spitballed. But so it was never put into practice. It was never going to be put into practice. But it was just, you know, when you're brainstorming, so just what about that? Because people slow down when they see where other people have passed away. Sometimes it's just a look. You know, it's just, you know, rubbernecking. They just do it to ogle a sight. But sometimes they may generally be moved by the fact, you know, somebody lost their life here because of a car accident. Maybe I'll drive more carefully. Anyway, the press ran with it, and they were pilloried with the British police for even thinking of this. And now this kind of thing smacks of that to me. It's just like, it's incredibly disrespectful to people who have actually lost loved ones and do leave these little tokens and these little memorials. Another thing is, this girl has her family and her close friends. There's a good chance not all of them were in on it. There's a good chance none of them were in it. So Miss Morano's family, supposing one of them, somebody had linked them a video, oh my God, I'm so sorry for your loss, to a brother, a cousin, somebody who didn't know it was an elderly relative, that would be traumatizing. And then to find out it was a joke. Anyway, so yeah, it's just, please produce content responsibly. This is, you know, thankfully this has all come out, and yeah. I mean, if they'd done it just off the top of my head, if they'd done like a Who Shot Mr. Burns, you know, and they were filming it and they came home and she was dead, and it was very clearly set up. And then they did follow-up videos like trying to find the culprit and find clues and that kind of thing. And the Ouija board thing, at that point, because you know it's not real, because you know it's a stunt, it might just be very entertaining. But even, you know, even the one on this where he was going to, I mean, I've not seen any of these videos, but he was going to contact her using a Ouija board. That would seem incredibly macabre if if you thought that the first video was genuine. Even that wouldn't seem appropriate. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I'm bewildered by this kind of thing. Anyway, move on. Story number 2. This is in the Mirror. Okay, another quite heavy story, but paedophile hunter's Facebook Live arrest of wrong man accusing him of sexual offences. Yes, so I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it kind of pops up on Facebook feeds in various places, and it's these paedophile hunters bringing people to justice, and they film them, and they're basically like, they run up to them and they accuse them of stuff, and they say, you've done this or you've done that, and then they call the police, and the police come arrest them. Fantastic. But this group live streamed a confrontation to arrest of an innocent man incorrectly accused him of trying to groom children. The group returned up at the home of a 55-year-old man in West Lancashire and recorded him as they accused him of child sex offences. Despite the man claiming he was innocent, they called the police and he was arrested and taken into custody. This was earlier this month, the Liverpool Echo reports. The whole incident was filmed and posted on the group's thousands of followers on Facebook. Despite the man in the video having no previous convictions or being involved in any attempts to commit sex offences against children. In the footage, the wrong accused man can be seen standing at the front door of his house as the hunters list offences they believe he is guilty of. They then tell him they have called the police before he nods his head and says, I'm happy to wait for them. After telling them he isn't the person they're looking for, the man then asks them to leave his property and goes back into his home. Video runs for 30 minutes while the hunters wait for the arrival of the police. The police turn up and he gets taken away. Spokesman for Lancashire Police on Tuesday that the man was released under investigation, but they are now satisfied the incident was a case of mistaken identity. Issuing a statement, Lancashire Police said earlier this month we were made aware of a post by a group on Facebook accusing the man from Ormscope of sexual offences. The man was arrested by police and later released under investigation. We have looked into the allegations and are satisfied it is a case of mistaken identity. We are confident the man originally named by this group was not involved in any attempts to groom children or commit sex offences and has no previous convictions. He's been released with no further action. The post, including the video and images, has been removed by the administrator of the Facebook page involved. Okay, so I see this as incredibly dangerous. incredibly dangerous, because this guy is innocent. He has done nothing but mud sticks. If you make an accusation against somebody, there is somebody who's going to believe it. There is somebody who's going to think, no, that's genuinely true, and this guy has done this. And the fact that the police couldn't convict him doesn't mean he didn't do it. You know, so it says a group. It doesn't say how many were in the group, but a group implies, you know, more than 2 or 3. So 4 or 5 people, guys, turned up at this guy's house. What if you've got young kids in the house? You know? Or your neighbour's looking out the window and there's a group of people reading off what they believe you've done. Sexual offences against children. I mean, my God. And it's all made up. And the guy keeps his calm and he's like, okay, let the police come and let them deal with it. I mean, these people, it's not vigilante justice. They don't go and beat people up. But the fact that they kind of expose people, and in this case, wrongly so, yeah, it's baffling. And I think this guy would have a phenomenal legal case against him if he wanted to go that way. Like I say, the gentleman's not named. It doesn't use any of the names. And I'm glad, because, you know, you don't want this guy's name dragged through the mud, being that he is innocent. So, yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't know about this group. I don't know what they're made up of. If they are made up of people who have been previously abused, if they are victims or they are the family of victims, I can understand why you wanting to stop it happening to anybody else is foremost in your mind. And I can completely get that. I understand that, and I can sympathise. But you have got to make sure you get the facts right. And the fact that you kind of live stream it, it seems a bit salacious. It seems a bit self-promoting. If you investigate and you find this and you call the police and somebody's arrested and subsequently convicted, and then you do a video saying, we did an investigation, we helped get this done, but to preemptively do it and kind of film it, it just, I don't know, I'm just uncomfortable with it. I mean, they probably say, look, this is to act as a deterrent. It's like, you know, if you do things, if you break the law and if you intend to harm and abuse underage, you know, minors and children, things, this is what comes for you. You know, justice will be served. So I can see that aspect of it, but it just seems a bit, I don't know, it just seems a bit, like I say, a bit self-promoting almost, you know. And like I say, I don't know the group, and I get what they're trying to do. I just don't agree with the approach. If you are going to investigate, if the police are incredibly busy and you get a tip off that this person has been involved in this, and you say to the police, look, this is what we understand, but you're the police. You're the ones who've got the power to arrest, the power to fully investigate by the rule of law and prosecute by the rule of law. It needs to be in your hands. And then afterwards, it's like, yeah, we contribute to this investigation. We contribute to this person getting taken, you know, off the streets. Bravo. Fantastic. But to do it ahead of time and just accuse people, because in this case it is proven you did it wrongly, and the consequences for this guy could be massive. There was a story in the news last year, I don't even know if it was in the UK, but it certainly happened, where a guy was wrongfully accused of being a paedophile and he was beaten to death. A group of people got together and ganged up on him and essentially just, you know, street justice, they killed this guy. Guess what? He didn't do it. But again, it's that no smoke without fire. So I just think you need to be very careful, very, very careful when you sling accusations at people, because the ramifications can be enormous. Anyway, that's it. Those are my thoughts. Let's move on to story number 3. Story number 3 comes from Sky News. Coronavirus. Britons returning from Wuhan will be quarantined for 2 weeks. So yeah, coronavirus again. It's all over the news. It remains all over the news. Britons have now been flown back to the UK from Wuhan, will be quarantined for 2 weeks over coronavirus fears, Sky News understands. Military base has been considered as an option to isolate them, although no kind of flights where they're actually going to land has actually been kind of decided or released to the public yet. Health Secretary Matt Hancock, who will chair a COBRA meeting about the issue on Wednesday afternoon, said we are working hard to get British nationals back from Wuhan. Public safety is a top priority. Anyone who returns from Wuhan will be safely isolated for 14 days with all necessary medical attention. Yeah, and obviously British Airways have suspended flights to mainland China. I think Lufthansa have done the same, and and this kind of thing. So it's, you know, it's a big deal, and they are taking the steps needed to kind of prevent it hitting the country. They said they've got plans in place if it does, but anything they can do to stop the spread of it, they're going to do now. So anybody coming back from mainland China, you are now going to be quarantined for 2 weeks. I can see how a lot of people will not be happy with that if you're returning for 2 weeks. And it's like, I'm coming back from holiday and I've got to go back to work. I've got to, you know, I've got kids, or I've got commitments, which you will do. Very few people come back from holiday and then they've got 2 weeks to do nothing. So it is going to be a massive inconvenience. However, it is a case of that greater good. And I'm sure they will kind of meet them in the middle in regards of what they can do, who can be allowed access to them, and you know, and this kind of thing. And let's face it, if you've got an excuse for your boss, it's a pretty damn good one that the British government quarantined me for a fortnight. So, but yeah, I mean, it's, my thought throughout all of this has just been, you know what, it's another kind of flu, and flu kills, just the normal flu kills thousands a year, but it is kind of treatable, whereas this at the minute is not killed in those numbers yet, but it could get up there because at the minute there's no way to treat it. So it is something that they are rightly concerned about. And yeah, they need to put this in place. So yeah, they expect about 200 British nationals on board a chartered flight from Wuhan on Thursday morning. But again, they don't know where it's going to land, but they're going to bring them in, and essentially they're going to be quarantined off, monitored for a fortnight. I think they've said the gestation period is something like 5 to 7 days. So if you're not showing symptoms within that time period, then, you know, I guess you're all clear, but they're going to continue to keep you, and just, you know, just for absolute, to make absolutely certain that you are virus free. So yeah, that's it. It's, you know, not got a lot of thoughts on that. It's just one of them things. It's one little point in there. This Cobra meeting. Now, Cobra is this, it's always had a mythical status when they say it on the news, that meeting, the cabinet's been meeting at Cobra. And you're like, oh, that sounds awesome. It sounds like G.I. Joe and that kind of thing. Do you know what Cobra is? Cabinet Office Boardroom A, from what I understand. That's the acronym, Cabinet Office Boardroom A. So it's basically a meeting room which has probably got the best seats and a nice coffee machine. But essentially that's where all the important stuff takes place. But I just think it's called Cobra. So I think everyone, it conjures these images of this really kind of elite kind of thing, and it's just the name of a room. So there you go. Anyway, let's move on to story number 4. So this is in The Sun today. Very obvious. So Chloe Ferry posts really bad Photoshop fails in her kitchen in these sexy snaps. So yes, full disclosure, I didn't really know who this girl was, but I saw the story and I thought it was kind of, I had a few things to say about it. So she's a Geordie Shore star. She's 24. She stood in the kitchen wearing a tight dress and heels in 2 snaps. She did a number of poses, one with the bum sticking out, but it didn't look natural. And a fan said in comment section, please stop photoshopping your body. The wonky lines are triggering my OCD. So what they're saying is that if you use, like if you're on Photoshop and use, like, I think it's the warp tool, you can quite easily reshape an object, in this case somebody's body, and you can accentuate areas and you can pinch in areas, so you can give yourself if you want to, you can give yourself a nice area waist, nice wide hips, and, you know, a larger chest, and whatever you want to do. But you need a background which is forgiving of that, and it's not always the case. The problem when you take something, anything that's got like lines in it, becomes very, very obvious. So in front of brickwork, in front of tiles, in front of anything with straight edges, if the part you're modifying crosses a straight edge, when you warp it, what's around it gets warped too, and it cuts curves in these nice angular lines, and the human eye is exceptionally good at picking these out. So yeah, people have kind of called her out. Another comment was, you look absolutely beautiful, but when you use Photoshop to your bum, the lines on the door is very wonky. Kiss, kiss, kiss. She's been accused of pulling the same trick several times before. Last year, wearing a yellow crop top with matching miniskirt. It wasn't a stunning look that fans are pointing out, rather what appeared to be a warped brick wall. By her legs, the brick seemed to bend inwards, with many fans suggesting that it was Photoshop. So yeah, a fan wrote, you basically shouldn't stand next to what is a grid if you go into Photoshop, lol. So there you go. A couple of thoughts on this. Number one, yeah, it's easy to poke fun. It's kind of fun, isn't it? You know, people do this to improve selfies and what have you, and make yourself look better. There's ways and means of doing it. I mean, look at me. This is not a face that Photoshop is going to fix. So I'm not in this world. It doesn't really worry me too much. I've used Photoshop in the past to clean up pictures. I had a picture of my my great aunt had a when they both were her and her husband passed away, separate times, but we found a picture of the house, an aerial shot of their house when we were clearing it out essentially after she passed away, and it was a really old, battered, and it was it was torn. One corner was missing. It had ink splashed on it, and I photoshopped this and I worked on it for a couple of days. I'm not great with Photoshop, and cleaned it all up to a point where it looked like it had been taken recently. It was brilliant. So it's a fantastic tool, and it's but yeah, I'm not really up to speed on it, but I know it goes on an awful lot when it goes out. Professional, every kind of the cover of magazines are photoshopped to death. Famously, was it? I can't remember the actress's name. Kate Winslet. She had her legs stretched, and I think she herself kind of posted, "That's not what I look like in the original photo," and this kind of thing. But now people, because Instagram is the new magazine cover, people are taking it upon themselves to Photoshop little areas. I think it's easy to have a go at this girl. It really is. But the reason I wanted to talk about the story and the other side of it for me is that she must be under enormous, enormous pressure, because women in general are under enormous pressure to look a certain way and behave a certain way and have a certain figure and have certain makeup and have certain this, that, and the other. However, the amount of sort of women who have posted horrors, famous people. There was one of a girl, I can't remember her name, forgive me, from Little Mix. I don't know the name. I don't not really aware of the band too much. I'm aware they're a big deal, and that she was driven to depression and things because people were just jumping on pictures of her, just saying, "Look how fat she is, look how ugly she is." And I saw this girl, and I'm like, "She's beautiful. She's a woman. She's beautiful." So there is an incredible amount of pressure on these people to look a certain way, because if they don't, people will come after them. Not people they should give any of their time to, just to be clear. But it's hard to ignore that when people, if you communicate with your friends and fans and followers or whoever it happens to be on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, whatever it happens to be, they're kind of they're important to you. They're important to your brand. They're important to you personally. And if a few of them come at you in a very negative way, firstly, you'd like to think that the kind of more rational people will kind of step in on your behalf. But yeah, so maybe she took a picture and she just thought, somewhere, some guy or some girl with an axe to grind will put a comment up and just make me feel terrible that day, saying that I'm fat or my bum's too flat or whatever it happens to be. So maybe if I just kind of perfect it a little bit. So there could be that element to it. So it's easy to say, you just photoshopping this and photoshopping that, and it's easy to say, just put up a natural picture. Everyone loves it. And for me, yeah, just look how you look. But there is this pressure, and there is people who will push back if you don't look a certain way that they think you should look, and it's like, you're hideous, and you're like, no, she's really not. She's really beautiful. Most women are. Most guys are really handsome. It's all about eye of the beholder, and it's who are you to say? If you don't like the way somebody looks, fine, absolutely, because everyone likes different things, and everyone's got a different aesthetic image in their head of the perfect man or the perfect woman or the perfect pet. Whatever it happens to be, you've all got your image of what is perfect to you in any given, format. And a lot of the times, those formats won't meet that. You will see in your day-to-day life thousands of people, and many of them will not appeal to you physically, mentally, emotionally. So what? That's absolutely fine. That's being an individual. Great. But you don't have to go up to everybody. Imagine going up to somebody in the street. If you saw, as a guy, imagine if you saw a woman getting coffee or something, and you thought, Me personally, I prefer a taller girl or a girl whose legs are longer, whatever. Can you imagine walking up to that girl and going, "Now then, Stumpy," what? So why is it acceptable to do it online? If you wouldn't do it to them in person, why is it acceptable to you to actually go online and have a go at somebody and attack them personally? It's fine if you don't like somebody. It's fine if you don't like a certain movie, a certain song, a certain fragrance, a certain whatever. It's fine because you're an individual. But to go after the person, actively tell them, not just that, you're not my cup of tea, but that they're hideous or they're fat or they're whatever it is, it's just, it's mind-boggling. It's absolutely staggering. So, yes, people have been having a bit of fun with it. A lot of the times, a lot of the people who've kind of said stuff have kind of backed up with, they've not kind of attacked her for doing it. They've kind of said, look, you don't need to. Her fans are kind of saying, we don't follow you for this unrealistic version. We follow you for you. And because you're on Geordie Shore, people have seen footage of you moving around, which you cannot doctor. You could do, CGI in Hollywood millions, but they don't do that. So she has gained followers and support from people seeing her as she is. And yes, you can argue the footage is selective and this kind of thing, but in regards to her physicality, which is what she's changed with the Photoshop, she's got a load of fans. So they're kind of going, look, they're not having a go at her being cruel. They're kind of saying, you don't need to do this. We love you for who you are. I think that's a good thing. But again, I can maybe see why she feels like she has to do it, because if she doesn't, and she doesn't present herself with what she thinks is perfect, then I'm going to swear, but somebody will come at her and just, and make her have a really bad day. And it's easy to say, just don't pay attention to those comments. It's hard to do. It is hard to do when people are saying very negative things to you. When they go out of their way to do that, it says more about them than it does about you. But it's hard to ignore it, and it can have a really negative effect. So I'm just saying, a bit of balance, Anyway, let's move on. Final story there, story number 5. God bless the Metro. They always give us a good story now and again. Democratic presidential candidate, I can't even speak, shakes dog's mouth like it's his hand. Yeah, this is Michael Bloomberg, Democrat presidential candidate, obviously running for 2020, and he met this dog and he kind of shook its hand, but the dog was kind of like at him, and he just kind of took all of its top jaw and just kind of wagged it. It's like, nice to meet you. Anyway, apparently the dog was absolutely fine. It was quite good with it, but people are like, has this guy ever met a dog before? However, so this was a campaign event in Burlington, Vermont. He was introduced to the dog. More than 3,000 people have now liked the footage, which has been widely shared on Twitter. People are split on the video. Some people, the dog clearly enjoyed the interaction, others saying it was extremely strange. That is weird AF, was responded one user. This gives credibility to the question, what would a clone do the first time it met a dog? Another said, is he shaking the dog's mouth as if it were a hand? And if you watch if you go on the Metro website, you can see the footage of it. But yeah, other people like it. Some people say, totally appropriate way to greet this dog. Dog was obviously happy and comfortable around strangers. Makes Mike Bloomberg look nice. Another said, love it, makes me more likely to vote for him. Another person said, my dog loves this. Whatever, we all have our own weirdness. So yeah, it's kind of so he took the top of its snout and gave it a shake, and the dog was absolutely fine. And obviously people have looked at it and gone, it's a bit odd, but it's one of the things. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's got a dog. Maybe his dog loves that kind of contact over the bridge of the nose. And again, if a dog comes up to you and it's kind of boisterous, the normal thing to do when I greet a dog is if it's comfortable kind of with you, because you don't want to kind of cover its face, but I kind of reach around and stroke the back of its head. If he was doing that, or he was going for that, and the dog sort of moved back a little bit and just lifted its snout, and he ended up kind of getting hold of it, and he's like, this is awkward, just, because he's aware that everything he does now is going to be filmed. He probably was before, because, the guy's got a certain level of celebrity. So, yeah, so he kind of just thought, well, what would I do? I'm here to shake hands. So, and he just shook the dog's snout anyway. The dog was fine with it, and people are coming kind of like, is that weird? And I'm like, no, my dog loves it, and this kind of thing, so... Yes, there we go. A little funny one to finish on. So, yeah, and again, people are kind of like, oh, I'm going to vote for him now. It gives it that, it kind of humanizes them, because politicians have got this kind of air of, this kind of aura of kind of like primness and properness about them, and everything is very serious, and because it's lawmaking and it's, you know, it needs to be. But when you kind of see the human side of it, it just connects them with us a bit more. You know, when we see them in the House and in the UK, we see them in Parliament, and it's very formal and it's very rehearsed, essentially. They don't come across as personable all the time. And because a lot of these meetings and public things are very scheduled and managed, again, even then they don't come across as particularly human. So when one does something which is just like, yeah, you know, I've seen people do that, my dad does that, it kind of does give them that air of, this guy's one of us, or that woman's one of us, and that kind of thing. I will point out that's very much what got Trump elected, because he was this, you know, he was just this guy that wasn't political. He wasn't a politician. He was just kind of spoke his mind. So dangerous route potentially, but yes, I saw it and I thought it's unusual, but it's not particularly, yeah, it's not that weird. So we'll see. Anyway, so that's it, guys. Links to all those stories I've discussed today can be found in the description below, so feel free to go and check them out. Let me know what you think about this video and tell me what's the weirdest or most awkward handshake or greeting you've ever had. So not necessarily a handshake, but somebody you know and you've kind of gone in for a little peck on the cheek and they've pulled away, or anything like that, anything weird, a hug that's lasted, that you've received or given that maybe lasted a few seconds longer than it probably should have done. Anyway, answer in the comments, please, along with any thoughts you'd like to share. These were mine. They're not necessarily important. They're not necessarily right or wrong. It's just what was on my mind. So until next time, bye for now.